Okay, I'm going to call to order this meeting of the Montgomery County Board of Supervisors on Monday, September 8th, 2025. Our first item of business is a vote on our electronic participation policy. Section 2.2-3708.3 of the Code of Virginia, 1950, as amended, permits members of the Board of Supervisors to participate in a meeting of the board through electronic communication means from a remote location in certain situations. Board member Sarah Bone has requested to participate remotely in the Montgomery County Board of Supervisors meeting scheduled for September 8th, 2025 at 6:45 p.m. to be physically held at the Government Center, Christiansburg. Supervisor Bone is unable to attend due to a personal matter which prevents her physical attendance. Members physically present shall vote to agree to allow participation by other board members requesting to participate remotely. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll, please.
Mr. Grafsky?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Fidzikowski?
I don't think that this should be allowed to participate from a foreign country that is 6 hours away on top of what happened to the same supervisor not even a year ago. So I'm inclined to say no.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Mr. Kitts?
Aye.
Chair DeMotts?
Aye.
I have 5 ayes, 1 no.
Okay, and then Supervisor Bone, are you there and can you hear us?
I am. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Our next item on the agenda is to go into closed meeting. Be it resolved, the Montgomery County Board of Supervisors of Montgomery County, Virginia hereby enters into closed meeting for the purpose of discussing the following. Section 2.2-3711. 5, discussion concerning a prospective business or industry or the expansion of an existing business or industry where no previous announcement has been made of the business or industry's interest in locating or expanding its facilities in the community. 1, project number 2025-027. And 2, discussion, consideration, or interviews of prospective candidates for employment, assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salaries, disciplining, or resignation of specific officers, appointees, or employees of any public body. 1, county administrator. 2, county attorney. Is there a motion?
Second.
Okay. Madam Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Ms. Bone?
Aye.
Mr. Kitts?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Mr. Fidzikowski?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Grafsky?
Aye.
Chair DeMotts?
Aye.
7 ayes.
We are in closed meeting. I apologize for that brief delay, but we are back out of closed meeting. Give me just 1 minute to get reset. Sorry that we're a little bit late.
I can hear you loud and clear. Thank you.
Okay, so our first item coming out of closed meeting is to certify the closed meeting. Whereas the Board of Supervisors of Montgomery County has convened a closed meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and whereas Section 2.2-3711 of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by the board that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Supervisors of Montgomery County, Virginia hereby certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge, 1, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which this certification resolution applies, and 2, only such public business matters as were identified in the motion conveying the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the board.
Madam Chair, may I make a motion to come out of closed
Yes,
meeting first?
I realized I forgot that as soon as I
Second
started
on that.
reading. So we're taking a motion to come out of closed meeting. We've got a motion and a second. Can I, Madam Clerk, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Kitts?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Mr. Fidzikowski?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Grafsky?
Aye.
Ms. Bone?
Aye.
Chair DeMotts?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Now, the certification resolution I read. Is
So
there a
moved.
motion?
Yeah,
I can read it again if you'd like. No?
I'll
Okay.
move,
Second.
I'll move what you read.
Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll, please.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Mr. Fidzikowski?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Grafsky?
Aye.
Ms. Bone?
Aye.
Mr. Kitts?
Aye.
Chair DeMotts?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance led by our County Administrator, Angie Hill.
Please rise as you're able for a moment of silence and then join me as I lead us in the pledge. Let us pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Angie. We have several presentations tonight. The first one is pretty exciting. I'd like to invite our Sheriff Hank Parton to come forward. He has something to share with the board, and then we're going to all come out and take a quick picture. Come forward, sir. You can bring them all. Welcome. We're really glad to see all of you.
Thank you for having us. Is this on? Okay, good. Good evening, members of the board. Thank y'all for having us. You'll be given this, but we just want to read it just because, you know, it means something to us. So I apologize in advance if I mispronounce a word. All right. On behalf of the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office SWAT team, we would like to extend our sincere gratitude and deepest appreciation for your recent decision to approve the purchase of a SWAT team tactical vehicle for use within Montgomery County. Your foresight, commitment to public safety, and willingness to invest in the resources needed to protect our residents and law enforcement officers alike speaks volumes about your leadership and dedication to the well-being of our community. The acquisition of this specialized vehicle is a significant step forward in enhancing our county's public safety capabilities. In today's increasingly complex and unpredictable environment, our team must be equipped with the necessary tools to respond to high-risk situations efficiently, effectively, and safely. The presence of a tactical vehicle will serve as a critical asset in situations involving active threats, hostage rescues, natural disaster response, in other emergencies where lives may be at risk. But by providing our team with access to this type of protective equipment, you have empowered us to operate more safely and confidently during dangerous operations. Moreover, the impact of this decision extends beyond immediate tactical advantages. It contributes to the broader sense of security and peace of mind for residents of Montgomery County. Knowing that their local government is proactively taking steps to invest in life-saving infrastructure and support those who serve on the front lines reinforces public trust and enhances community morale. Family, business owners, and civic leaders alike benefit from living in a county that prioritizes preparedness, protection, and resilience. Once again, thank you for your vision, leadership, and unwavering support for the safety and security of Montgomery County and the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office. Your investment in this critical resource will undoubtedly save lives, protect property, and ensure our community remains a safe place to live, work, and thrive. With deepest appreciation and respect. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you all so much for taking time out of your evening to join us this evening. We'll come around now. Give us just a minute to come all the way around to shake your hand and take some pictures with you. Thank you, gentlemen.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for being here.
I'm 90% sure signature, but I can still shoot that.
Once everybody are all set, we're gonna have at least two. Okay, yeah, just fill in as you go. How about that? And then I'll see it, make sure it's everyone's face. Okay, there we go, I like it. Front and center.
So we're gonna just cram.
Just mingle in.
Cram in.
Yeah.
I will now. Alright, can we have, how about you come on this side as well? And then can I get you up front?
Everybody got to turn side.
We're gonna have to have at least 2 rows. Can I have you right here, sir? Thank you. Okay. Can I have, yes, please, thank you. Alright. Okay, thank you. Can I get,
You go to the back.
one of you right here, one step in front of, there we go. Sound good? And then how about you, there we go. And then I'm probably gonna have to get, let's see, can I get you to the second row, please? And you, there. Let's see if we can make this happen. Okay, look, we did it. Alright, that looks great. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Alright, let's see right. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And for Miss Vaughn. Thanks, sir. I appreciate it. Thanks for letting us come to that.
Of course. We're really happy to have you guys. Twice in a row.
Yeah, yeah.
It's possibly in the works.
All right. Thanks, gentlemen. Okay, and continuing on a bit of a theme this evening, we have a pretty exciting introduction. Sheriff Parton, if you will come forward and introduce us to Mr. Clare. Chief Clare, I apologize, I'm being corrected.
Good evening, members of the board. And speaking of apologies, I guess I need to for a slip the last time I was at the mic. County Administrator, I'm so sorry.
Apology accepted.
So I have the honor of bringing my new friend and brother up to see you. We evidently snuck him away from Marion somehow, and Chief John Clare has got quite a story behind him. So I do not know all those details yet, but I know he's already had a great impact in Blacksburg. And as far as our working with the SROs, we are on the same page there and doing all that we can. And members of the board, Montgomery County, Chief John Clare.
Sheriff, before you go, I've got the pleasure of serving as the 100th president of the Virginia Association of Chiefs of Police, newly minted. And I've got with me a coin that celebrates our centennial occasion, and I wanted to present that to Sheriff Parton. It's incredible to have a partner like you. I think of you as chief among equals with us, and I appreciate everything that you do and the team that you have.
Am I chief too now?
Thank you. No, I appreciate the invitation that I've had to come and see you this evening. I've met Supervisor Kitts and, of course, Supervisor DeMotts before, and maybe some others that I'm just not remembering. But thank you for having me tonight. I'm excited to be in Blacksburg. So as the sheriff said, I most recently came from Smith County. I was down there for about 7 years, and before that in Quantico up in Prince William County, and spent some time in Northern Virginia. But I'm happy to be here now, and I'm looking forward to kind of getting started. If there's no questions.
There might be some
There
questions.
might be some questions.
Well, welcome, first of all, and thank you so much for making the trip out tonight to meet us at our meeting. I wanted to make sure that you got to kind of put faces with everybody's names. And let's just see, does anybody have any questions for Chief Clare? I know you just came off your very first Virginia Tech home game.
Yes,
so.
that was exciting. So what an incredible sociological experiment all of that is. I get to stand by as the careful observer, just recording everything for future use. Yeah.
Supervisor Biggs, did you have
I
some
just have a
questions?
comment. I want to thank you and the sheriff for really working on the SRO issues so
Yes,
that we
ma'am.
can get the elementary schools, covered in Blacksburg. That's been an important objective. And so thank you for your help with
You're
that.
welcome. I don't think we can understate the importance of protecting the youth here in Blacksburg and Montgomery County.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Anybody else? Vice Chair Fujikowski.
Welcome, and look forward to maybe having discussions with you later, some other day. But I was just wondering if you have any kind of secret way of recruiting more officers that don't involve stealing any of our deputies, that is.
Did you catch what the conversation that we had in the back? The sheriff is such a wonderful partner that he allowed me to hand out this newly minted join our team. It's got a QR code there. You can just kind of on that, and it'll take you to an interest card now. So I don't think there's any risk at the sheriff's office for folks coming to Blacksburg. You can tell that Sheriff Parton is an engaging leader, has a very unified team, and so we are working to turn around a recruitment issue. I think, as everyone knows, we're a little bit short, but we've got re-engaged. We're going to try some innovative things. There's no question in my mind that we'll gain some ground.
Very good.
Yeah.
One thing, when I met Chief Clare, that he said that really stood out, and I think this rings true, and I'm super happy to have you here with the same mentality, is that our local police chiefs and sheriff work very, very well together, very cooperatively, and I know that's unlike other communities, so we're very glad to have you part of the local team for the county.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been impressed with the cooperation in the New River Valley generally. It's kind of amazing, and I'm humbled to be a part of it, 100%.
All right. Do we have anything else for Chief Clare? Wonderful. Thank you very
Thank you
much
so
for
much
being
for
here,
having
sir. Welcome to our community. We're glad you're here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Sheriff Parton. And to follow that, we have a very exciting presentation from the Virginia Department of Transportation, Mr. David Clark. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. I don't know about the exciting part, but
I was hoping.
I know. We'll save the excitement for the winter months. Just a few things that kind of we've been working on, mostly finishing up some of the summertime maintenance items like the mowing, getting the mowing done. We've got that completed here recently, and getting some patching, and now getting into some brush cutting now that school started. And that's been needed, and we're getting a lot of good suggestions on where we need to do some brush cutting from the school bus drivers and the parents and everything. So we're working on that. Did cut brush on Taylor Hollow and Ellett Road, Mash Run, Bradshaw Road. Working on a couple of site distance issues, also with brush and mowing on Lester's Gate and Mount Tabor Road. Finishing up the overlay schedule. I know Norris Run was recently done. We had a few issues, had to come back and do a little bit more on that, but I think that worked out well. Also got some interest in the surface treatment that we put on Fairview Church Road. It's just not normally done, but it's an experimental kind of treatment. It was used there because of, the traffic count it has there is kind of a unique type of thing. It generally takes a while to settle down, but I think it's riding much better now. Also did Craig Mountain Road and got some calls on that and I had to go out and look at that, and it baffled me for a minute there, but we put some, it looked like the surface treatment wasn't put down well enough, and the center line was showing through. It was not the old center line showing through. They had put new temporary paint on there. And that's what happened was they actually came by and did it a little quicker than normal, and so there was not much lag time between the stuff, the surface treatment going down, the paint going down, and then there was still loose gravel on that part. So some of it got, scattered, but that will eventually brush off, and there will be more permanent lines on Craig Mountain Road. A couple other things, just again, pothole patching, again on Norris Run in front of the schedule work there, Allegheny Springs Road, Yellow Sulphur Road, and again, mowing and cleaning out pipe. We're getting closer to the finishing up of right-of-way on our next 6-year plan project, and we'll be doing some more patching down in the Ellett Valley area in the next couple weeks. And then our exciting part was the first football game, and so but we've been doing that for a while, and we work well with the Blacksburg police, so I think that went well for us as well.
Great. Well, thank you for all of that information. Let's see if any supervisors have any questions. And Supervisor Bone, I'm going to start with you.
Down Catawba, Nature's Way needs some brush cutting, if you would look at that also. Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you. Supervisor Grafsky, do you have any questions?
Yeah. I didn't hear it on your list, which doesn't mean it's not there, but I was contacted by a citizen actually late last week, and then when I saw you were going to be on the agenda, I just held on to it. Brush on Price's Fork, or not Price's Fork, I'm sorry, Merrimack, but near Price's Fork, kind of basically after you pass the old water treatment plant, with the fire training facility on up, through towards Price's Fork. There's a bit of overgrowth there, and then also, and this one came as a surprise, but Norris Run, he indicated that there were stretches of Norris Run that looked like they could use some trimming as well.
Trimming, okay.
But I appreciate all the updates, all the things your folks are doing. Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Supervisor Biggs?
I don't have anything, but thanks for being here.
Supervisor King?
I have two more on top of what you and I discussed back here. Walton Road has a lot of potholes in it. And Paul School Road needs a little grading.
Okay.
Thank you.
They did get 5 points, by the way. I forgot to mention that one, but they did work on 5 Points Road. 5 points. They did do some work on 5 points.
On the gravel side? Okay. Thank you.
Supervisor Kitts?
A couple things, a little different. If we could get something like Vickers Switch down in there, if there's an accident on the top of that hill, and which has been happening a little more frequently, where that church is, a lot of traffic ends up having to go all the way around, and that road is about a lane and 3/4 with all the brush.
Okay, yeah.
So just to take a look at that one real quick. The traffic light where it had gotten better before at Price's Fork has actually gotten worse going towards Fairlawn. It actually was backed up past Vickers, was it Onyx? All the way over the top of the crest of the hill, but only the singular way, not the other way.
Right.
So it was still backed up, but not as significant, and it was at over 50 plus cars, and it's still within a half an hour time window. It's kind of crazy. It's just that odd specific time. Let's see. Yep. So that's all that I have. You said they issued a request for contract for that signal light coming up the hill.
Yeah, they're getting that
Okay.
together. I'll let you
Okay.
know when that thing gets let out to bid. It will, just to let the board know that they had to rebid it. It is an expensive project, and that's going to use most of the safety money from Montgomery County safety
Wow.
funds. Yep. They had to come to us again and say, "You got more money for this?" I said, "Yeah, I think we can cover it with the safety funds."
Oh, okay.
But that's good. It's a good use of it.
Yeah, because it's still getting a little sporty up there every once in a
Yeah.
while. But yeah. But thank you.
Vice Chair Fijikowski?
Yes. I had a recent complaint, and I can't tell you what was wrong with the stop sign, but you may have heard from a citizen. It's on the northbound 128 off ramp. At the end of the ramp, the stop sign. I don't know if it's obscured or if it's just faded out, but there was an issue with it that I haven't had a chance to get out there and look at it to see.
I'll look at it tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what was wrong with it, but and also I had received for several months complaints of potholes on North Fork Road, Route 603, and I heard back from the same citizen a month later, so I contacted him, and he said that you had started filling in potholes there, which is really good, and he was told that I don't know by who, but you know how that works, that 603 is due for paving this year?
It won't get paved this year. I think it might be on next year's schedule.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I told him I had not heard that. about paving that road, but I'm glad to see that
I'll
the
send you
potholes
if it's on the next year's schedule, I'll send you an email to
Okay.
confirm that.
yeah. And I think the last time I checked it, which was a couple of months ago, a lot of the issues were along the right edge of the roadway falling apart.
Yep, there's some of there, and right as you're getting closer to the to the interstate, it was a lot of in the center line potholes where
Yes.
the joint is.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm glad you all are working on that. And you're talking about brush. I've had some complaints on brush that's overtaking the guardrail on Allegheny Springs. It's right there in the Bluffs area, to the point where some of those grasses, they must be 7 feet tall, and they're laying over into the roadway, and that's causing the problems. If you got an old truck like mine, has an antenna, sometimes we'll catch some of that grass and rip it off.
We got some that was pretty bad on Ellett Road coming out of Cambria, going down towards Lester's Gate.
Yeah.
We got some in that there. It was very similar. That Johnson grass was way up high over that guardrail.
Well, this is also some kind of, I don't know if it's a Virginia creeper or whatever it is just overtaken the guardrail. You can't see the guardrail anymore. And also on, and this is ridiculous, I drive by it every day, but the harder I think of the name of the road, the harder it gets away from me. But right there in the S-curves on Allegheny Springs, where the bridge is,
George's Run?
George's Run. I knew you'd help me out. You got them all memorized. Yeah, the same situation with the guardrail. About a mile or two up there, about halfway up it, it's just you can't see the guardrail, and it's in a curve and everything. So that's all I got. Appreciate all you do.
All right, and I don't have anything, and nobody is indicating that they have anything else. So, Mr. Clark, thank you so much for being here this evening.
Thank you all.
We appreciate you. And then our final presentation this evening is Keith Holt. Mr. Holt is the Executive Director of the Virginia Tech Montgomery Executive Airport, and he is going to present on the airport's master plan. Welcome, Mr. Holt. We're glad you're here.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate being here this evening. And as mentioned, my name is Keith Holt. I'm the Executive Director of the Virginia Tech Montgomery Executive Airport. Just as a reminder, so the airport is run by an airport authority, of which the county is one of our 4 jurisdictions on the airport authority. We've been run that way since 2001. And really my point for being here today is talk about the master plan. And this is a really exciting opportunity and time for the airport. So the current master plan of which that we are operating under was completed in May of 2008. And the big project on that 2008 master plan was our runway extension, of which that extended the runway from 4,500 feet to 5,500 feet. So in talking with the Federal Aviation Administration, they really felt, they said, it's time to go into the master planning process. Typically, master planning is about an 18 to 24-month process, so we were pretty well set on time with that. And this is a project of which that is funded by the FAA as well as the Virginia Department of Aviation. And as that is being said, there are some very specific requirements of which that the FAA lays out to us that has to appear in our master plan. Some of those things are listed here, such as the inventory of existing conditions, forecasting, facility requirements, development concepts, implementation plans, and then a final set of drawing plans. You can see the ones with the check marks beside those. Those are the ones that we have already completed. So we're a little better than halfway through the process of our master plan. Now, our master plan looks at a 20-year time frame as far as planning this out, coordinating, forecasting, and our implementation set. And I'm going to be 100% honest. This is one of my most referenced documents that I have in my office. It sits in a 3-ring binder, but truthfully, the existing plan, the cover's almost ripped off of it. The corners are dinged up on it. I've got Post-it notes stuck throughout. This is not a plan of which that sits up on a shelf and does not get used. I reference this easily several times in a given month, sometimes frequently in the same week, depending on what projects I'm working on. So we talk about 20 years, and that's what the master plan is looking at. Here's just some snapshots in time of 2003 versus 2023. And you can see some of the significant changes that have occurred at the airport in that 20-year time frame. One of the most noticeable being you could actually still see the old crosswind runway that the airport had in the 2003 picture. By the time the 2023 picture comes out, it is almost impossible to figure out where that old crosswind runway was. We've developed a lot more hangar space. We have the extension of the runway out to 5,500 feet. It's a little hard without seeing a laser pointer there, but you can also see how the Southgate interchange, as well as the runway extension, took out the old Corporate Research Center drive, or rerouted the Corporate Research Center drive, for which that then goes up to the top of Chicken Hill. So that was some of those changes and improvements of which that you can see in a 20-year time frame. It's actually a lot of projects in a 20-year time frame. So with our master plan, where are we now and what have we been doing? So the forecasting was what we did up front. And we started that in the fall, the winter of 2023. It's about 170 pages long of just data and forecasting and predictions. We held our first public meeting and public input phase in May. We had great participation in that. We have our second meeting planned for this fall. When we look at this master plan, our primary focus has been our growth within our fence. Or in other words, we're not looking to take on additional property acquisition. How can we grow smartly inside of our existing boundary? We're being very mindful, as we should, towards aviation safety, but we're also looking at ways of which that we can grow smartly for in the future, and also ways of which that we can continue to generate revenue. The final project should be completed in early 2026. This is something of which that right now we're kind of trending, of which that towards the end of December, beginning of January, we'll have our part of this complete, but it goes to the FAA for their final approval. And I cannot really guarantee how speedy their approval process will be on that. A few of the things of which that we have learned in this forecasting phase has been that we will experience some growth, but it is honestly really just sort of steady and moderate growth out at the airfield. But we do have a fair amount of needs and demands of which that this master plan will have to address. We continue to have a lack of hangar space, a lack of apron space. Our existing terminal building is about 4,500 square foot. We really need closer to about 6,500 square foot. So the future of the terminal building, where that's going to be, or an expansion of that terminal building, are some of those questions of which that we're looking to answer in this master plan. As I mentioned, we had a great participation in our open house and public comment phase. This is one of those areas of which that you hear from a lot of different pockets of interested parties. Neighboring citizen, local governments, businesses, airport users. And it's fun to pull that all together and try to take that to the next step. So we started off with a initial draft of sort of where buildings could go and what the future of the airport could look like. And we've gone forward with continuing with our next steps as far as right now we're working on our implementation plan and our airport layout plan set. We have responded to a number of public comments on our website. We actually have an FAQ section on our website of which that addresses a lot of those public comments. And we're continuing to work on that final drawing set that will be ready for our next public meeting of which that we have this fall, of which that will really lay out a little bit in a finer detail with the input that we've received from the community as to where those buildings would go. So most importantly, where can you get more information and or how can the citizens be further engaged and involved? On our website, www.vtmea.com, on the left-hand side, there's Master Plan Update. You can click on that. You can get to all the current information about our master plan. You can get to the FAQ pages of frequently asked questions that we've already had. But also, more importantly, there is a very simple form of which that citizens can fill out and complete in order to provide comment on the future of the airport if they so desire. that's all I have, and I'm more than happy to take questions.
Great. Well, thank you so much for the presentation. That was extremely interesting to learn a little bit about your process and also how far you've come. I'm going to go around the room and just see if anybody has any questions for you.
Absolutely.
Supervisor Kitts? Supervisor King, any questions? All right. Supervisor Grafsky, any questions?
No questions, but I was just, 21,000, your traffic is 21,000 per year, and I live pretty close to there, and it's very quiet. I guess it's just amazing that there's that much volume moving through that airport.
Yeah, and a fair amount of it depends on the wind direction and what way the winds are going as far as what runway we're taking off on, specifically for where you do reside. But that is one benefit of the airport is on certain wind conditions, some of the traffic goes left. On the other wind conditions, traffic goes the other way. So it kind of splits it.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Supervisor Biggs?
Well, I'm going to say something right.
Fine.
Well, first of all, there's a lot of work that has gone into the strategic plan and involving the citizens, and we've heard a lot of citizen comments from Airport Acres, and they've been respectfully addressed. And I want to...
Had close to 50 comments.
Yeah.
Or over 50
yeah,
comments.
it was a big turnout. But I want to commend Keith and staff for the work that they do day in and day out. Game day, that's like a 1 o'clock for you getting home. I don't think anyone comprehends what goes on at game day, but I think you said you had over 40 planes.
So if you look at the total for the weekend, and on a night game, I usually do look Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because there's a lot of traffic that will come in Friday, some that will come back in on Sunday to pick those folks up. So I pulled the numbers before I came over here. Between Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we had 83 aircraft.
In and out.
Yep.
And they have to be parked. And your staff, and Keith is the executive director, and he's out there doing the boots on the ground with the staff. And so I just think you need to be commended for all the work you do, but also for the fact that you have such good networking skills that you've been able to bring grants into the airport that we had not ever seen before. And the fuel, buying the fuel, that has gone up with all the aircraft coming in. So you need to be commended for the work that you and your staff are doing. You've really done a lot to turn this airport into what it is now.
I appreciate that. It takes a village. My staff is, very, very competent. We work very well together. And if it wasn't for them, it would make staying out there until 1 o'clock in the morning that much more difficult. But they make it fun.
Because not only is he doing the airplanes, but he's also doing a parking lot and the RV lot all together for those times. So thank you.
Supervisor Bone, do you have any questions for Mr. Holt?
No, but thank you for the information.
Thank you.
Vice Chair Fidzikowski?
Yes, I just have a comment. I really don't have a question for you. I am a firm believer that the success of the airport will directly affect our two towns and the county. Being part of the Roanoke Valley TPO, we have our airport director that comes and speaks to us, and yes, it's a much bigger airport, but the things that will be brought in economically, people don't see. Correct. And so they don't understand why a small airport is so important, why they should spend money, why they should use any funds to improve it, but they don't see what goes on behind the scenes. You have a CEO that lives in another part of the country and can fly into Blacksburg and do his business. He's going to spend his money there doing that business. And again, the average person just doesn't see that. But I think it is so important, and I'm very glad that you're at the helm. I think you've spoken to us before when you were director at the other airport, which won't be mentioned. But what you're doing is great, and keep up the good work. And we appreciate you coming to us and catching us up on your plan.
I appreciate those comments. I've always firmly believed that general aviation and economic development are very tied closely together. I work closely with Brian Hamilton, and there's oftentimes of which that we know businesses that are coming through to view our area before the public announcements are made. We see that frequently, and happy to play a part in that.
So you know all the secrets.
Not all of them. I also have some suspicions on some others. So,
Well, thank you so much for coming out this evening and spending some time with us, Mr. Holt. We all have really appreciated hearing from you.
be happy to do it anytime.
Thank you. Have a good evening. Okay, and we have completed all of our presentations for this evening, so we'll go ahead and move on to the public address section of the agenda. Public address is where anybody can come forward and speak to the board on any topic. I do have 2 citizens that signed up to speak during public address, so we'll go through those first, and then if anybody else in the audience would like to come forward and speak after that will be fine. Our first speaker this evening is Miss Susan Miller. And if you'll come forward, state your name and where you reside, and you have 4 minutes, Miss Miller.
My name is Susan Miller. I live at 3065 Mud Pike Road, and I have a continuing problem with VDOT. I spoke with Mr. Clark earlier, and we are going to get together on a phone conversation. We are having continuously, and I have another picture which I was not able to get to Angie, and that was my fault. I have another picture that shows where the water is washing across the road and coming into our cattle guard. And as I said the last time, our cattle guard is 4 feet deep, but at this current time it's 12 inches deep. When it fills up, the cattle will walk across it into the road, and I will say pretty much categorically, it's not our fault. So something needs to be done, and needs to be done fairly quickly, I think. And the cattle guard is a rectangular box of concrete and has railroad rails embedded in it across, so that it works as a cattle guard very well. But it's beginning to get very muddy, and I'm not very pleased with that, definitely. So I hope we can come to some resolution, and I appreciate your help and guidance in trying to figure out what to do and how to do it. Now, taking another vein, please remember Mitchell Hawk, what money he needs and what he needs to do. We are in the middle of doing our master plan for the Parks and Rec Commission, and we appreciate all your support. But our Parks and Rec program is one of the best, I think, in Virginia. We attract many people to many things, and that's very important for the county. And I think you need to hold that dear to your hearts. Lastly, I thank you for all of your work and your consideration of things in the community that are needed. That's very important. And I look forward to seeing you at Teal Park when you have the official opening. My husband and I will both be there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Miss Miller. And we have one other person that has signed up to speak, Mr. Wayman Pack. Welcome, sir.
Good evening, Board. My name is Wayman Pack, and I live on Piney Woods Road in Reiner. And I know this subject has been decided for this year, but I couldn't help noticing a few things at the last meeting that I wanted to share with you. Number one, I have never advocated for, nor will I ever advocate to restrict someone's legal right to vote. Number two, any comments that I have expressed have been intended to not only prevent the taxpayers of this county from having funds spent unnecessarily, but more importantly, to try and educate people of alternative voting options that are open to them, of which they may not be aware. After the last meeting, I overheard a citizen speaking with the registrar that was unaware that since COVID in Virginia, a person no longer needed a reason to vote absentee. The facts brought out at that meeting were news to that person. Number three, did any of you notice how ironic it was that the people that said transportation was a hindrance to them voting early at the registrar's office had to pass by that office to attend the meeting? How many of these same people will take public transportation to Walmart but say that it takes too long to travel another half mile to the registrar's office? Number four, Even if all 3 satellite polling locations that were originally considered were approved, and all the proposed days were also approved, the overall costs are minimal in the face of the total of the county budget. As such, while not unimportant, the costs are a secondary concern to me compared to the distances that the majority of this board are willing to go to while seeming to try to appease one subset of voters. Number 5, I wonder how many of the people who showed up to speak in favor of the additional polling locations would have even known that it was to be decided if they had not been informed by someone on this board that it was even on the agenda. I question this because looking at the average attendance of these semi-monthly meetings, they don't seem to be interested in any other workings of the county government. Number 6, people who have become accustomed to mainly electronic communication seem to be either afraid of the United States Postal Service or else the very concept is foreign to them. Number 7, when asked if these extra locations would put an extra burden on the registrar staff, the registrar neither hesitated nor equivocated. She answered with an emphatic absolutely. Even after hearing about the additional strain that her staff will incur at the expense of time spent with their families, time that neither you nor the citizens advocating for these changes will suffer, you still voted to appease a portion of voters who probably couldn't care less one way or the other about the staff and their families as long as they get what they want. You spoke of visiting this issue again in the future when there is more time to make decisions. I can only hope that reason takes over from emotions, and you look at what is the best for the majority of the citizens and not a minority of 1 or 2 populations of the county. As I have said previously, if you keep going down this path, you will eventually get to the point where you're going to request the registrar's office to hand deliver the ballots and then return to people's home to collect them. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't have anybody that signed up in advance. Would anybody else in the room like to come forward and address the board? Seeing nobody come forward, I'm going to close public address. We do not have an addendum this evening, and so we will go into work session. And is there a motion to go into work session?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll, please.
Mr. Fidzikowski?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Grafsky?
Aye.
Ms. Bone?
Aye.
Mr. Kitts?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Chair DeMotts?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Okay, tonight in work session, we have 3 topics to discuss. One is the revenue sharing with Montgomery County School Board. We also have a follow-up to our conversation on tax relief for the elderly and disabled. And we also have a follow-up on our legislative priorities. Angie, I am handing over the reins.
Okay, thank you. The first topic that we're going to talk about, as Chair DeMott said, is revenue sharing between Montgomery County and the Montgomery County Public Schools. When I was preparing this, Supervisor Kitts asked for this presentation, and I thought, sure, that'll be easy. We just did that. And it was 2 years ago in October, so the board members might have been in the room, but they were in different seats. So this will be a little bit new for you. And just as a point of reference in the research that we've done, we looked at the top 75 school districts in Virginia based on total expenditures for operations. 15 or 20% of those districts have revenue sharing agreements, and 60 districts, which is 80%, don't have revenue sharing agreements. So as we go through this and consider various aspects of having a revenue sharing agreement or not, it provides more certainty for schools in the event that the revenue, as far as revenue from the county is concerned, new revenue is concerned, which could provide some additional certainty for the schools and for the county as well. The actual revenue amount, of course, wouldn't be known until the revenue estimates are finalized, but it would provide a range of funding earlier. It should be noted that establishing a revenue sharing agreement assumes that the base allocation of the funding split between the county and the schools is accurate and aligned properly before the revenue sharing agreement is in place, and really that's very difficult to know if the alignment is correct or not. Recent year funding trends don't support a consistent base allocation. We looked at both undesignated general fund revenue and also undesignated general fund revenue plus the school's revenue from the state over the past 5 years, and the percentage varied widely from 29% for the schools to 46% for the schools but that was within the last 5 years. And it's not, the first year was 29%, the last year was 46. It just goes up and down based on needs. And then when we looked at general fund undesignated plus school money that is received from the state, it ranged from 53% of the total to 69%. So there is fluctuation in that currently. The reason for that is because flexibility is currently available under your current structure of analyzing the funding sources and the needs each year, and establishing a revenue sharing agreement would significantly limit the board's flexibility in those areas. Critical needs over the past years could not have been funded if we had a revenue sharing agreement in place for both the county and the schools. Within that 5-year period, we did 3 significant things that are examples. There were more than this, but 3 of them that came quickly to our minds. One was when the schools issued debt for Christiansburg High School, the county shifted a little bit of our debt service funding to the school debt service funding so that they could issue those bonds more quickly for the Christiansburg High School. We had a significant increase one year in the Western Virginia Regional Jail mandated contribution that the county has to provide based on the jail's per diem and the number of inmates that are housed there from Montgomery County. That would have not been possible without an adjustment to a revenue sharing agreement. And then finally, when we began offering career fire and EMS in the county, which allowed you as a board to continue to focus on your 2 top priorities of education and public safety, we would not have been able to do that in the same manner either with a revenue sharing agreement. Another important consideration to take into account is when revenue estimates don't match the actual revenue exactly, which is every year because the revenue estimates can't be perfect. Currently, when we receive more revenue than we estimate, the board is able to strategically prioritize the use of those funds based on the structure of a revenue sharing agreement. That this would have to be evaluated to see how that was handled. If it was handled in a manner such that those funds were allocated in the same proportion as the revenue sharing agreement called for, that could create a situation when one entity or the other had a need that could not be funded and would sort of hamstring you in that situation. Likewise, if we entered into a revenue sharing agreement with the schools and we did not meet our revenue estimates, as we all know, once the county appropriates funds to the schools, we can't reduce the appropriation. So if the revenue estimates are short and we've determined an amount that we've appropriated for the schools, the county would be responsible for absorbing that shortfall. Based on the research that we did, revenue sharing agreements are frequently modified based on changing economic conditions and other factors. We found this when we did strategic research, and also when I've talked to peers in other localities that have revenue sharing agreements, they spoke to this, that it's difficult to not have some discussion about the structure of the agreements that are in place. revenue sharing agreements do work well when it's favorable for all the parties. That everyone agrees with that, but in years that are lean, when there are strong demands for funding or funding is lower, the growth is slower, it's difficult to manage those. So it may be better for the board to consider continuing in the same manner as you have with the flexibility rather than establishing an agreement that has to be evaluated and debated when certain topics come up. I have an awesome staff too. I know Mr. Holt spoke about his staff. They came up with this today, and I thought, this is just, it's great. I think it's great. I hope you guys do too. But this shows a different look at this in a concise graphic. If you start at the bottom left, the funding priority, if the funding priority, so what we need to do is low. If we have a need or a desire to do a project, but it's a low need, and the funding, which is shown across the top, is also low, that's okay. It's a safe spot. We can pause right there and defer it to a lower time. It's low risk. If you go to the next item on the right, and it's a low priority, and we have a high amount of funding in that year, that's okay too. We can consider it in the future. But what could happen is if, for instance, the schools had a high year of revenue and didn't have and their needs were low, and the county had a high need and we had a lower funding amount, that could cause a problem that we'll talk about in a few minutes because of the allocation of the revenue. In the top right, that's the sweet spot. If you have a high funding priority, a high need, and you also have high funding available, there's strategic alignment and it works. Those are the years that it would work well. If you have low funding and a high need, you have a critical gap. And that's what we would want to try to avoid. If there is a critical gap, in this example, we're going to assume that revenue sharing agreement is a 50-50 split, which is just an assumption. It's not a recommendation, not based on a study. It's easy math. That's all. If there was an agreement of that manner and the county needed 1 cent of the tax rate, $1.244 million, for a new project, and we didn't have that with the allocation formula, the board would have to raise the rate, the real estate rate, 2 cents to keep that structure in place so that the schools could still get their proportionate amount. That could be avoided with a modification to the agreement on new taxes, but it would definitely make the formula more complicated. So that's a summary of what I have, what we put together for you. If you have more questions, we'll be glad to get more information. I do have a little bit more information about what some other folks do. If you have questions about that, I can try to answer those, or we can take direction about how you want to move forward with this.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for that presentation. Supervisor Kitts, since you requested this information, I'm going to start with you.
I need this broke down into color charts with lines and a color chart, and
We
it says
had
this goes this way, this goes that way.
We had a color chart, and we were instructed by someone with more graphic information and skill than I have that it was too busy. So we backed off of the color, but we can work on that.
The reason I say that is if we're talking about, and the one thing I want to add some clarity to is that as we sit here and talked about this, we're separating debt services and capital funding away from this, which changes the math and the percentage that the schools get. And I think it's a misnomer that a lot of people see the entire budget and they go, oh, we're getting 62%. I'm just pulling a number out. So once we separate that, I think we need to, I hate to use the word like this, but to educate everyone on this is what your budget is. This is what if we separate debt services and capital services, and that's where the wild swing comes in as far as the portion that the schools get, because sometimes it seems a lot more, but it's actually taking care of the debt and the capital services, capital projects.
The amounts that I provided tonight, those percentages, which were fairly disproportionate over the 5-year period, did not include those funds. They only included operations, which for the schools, operations includes instruction, attendance, administration, and health, transportation, those items. They did not include debt service or capital, but capital and debt service do play a role in the bigger picture. And I know the number that you're thinking of is 67%. When we talk about that during the budget process, if you look at our total budget as a whole, that includes every revenue source for every fund, 67% of that great big pie chart with lots of colors, it goes to the school, to a school function including operating, debt service, and capital, our traditional capital transfers. And then the rest of the funding goes to all the other categories: the county's general fund, county debt service, county capital, a small amount to the law library, and so forth. But I do know that that's confusing to people, and we can certainly provide more information.
So the point I'm saying, for clarity purposes in the chart, to show that this is what, let's separate that out. This is a separate entity. It has to be, these things have to be funded in the aspect of what they are for capital projects and debt services. And that we look at the other portion of the funding and what the actual real percentage is or can be. And I understand that the revenue sources coming at that are state-led, and then state, and then the portion that the county puts forth to offset the differences of what the schools and the school board requests.
Right.
That's where I'm coming up with that chart. Like, if we can simplify it down and not show all the revenue streams, but show it in a more simplified manner, to be able to show that this is the percentage that the county gave this year, this is what the state gave. And I think a part of the problem was in years past, because the state was at a budget impasse, we weren't able to get the actual numbers the state was giving until later on, and that caused another issue within the budget function, correct?
Correct.
So, and the reason I say this and the reason I brought up revenue sharing is I really don't like the way that this went down last time, and I want to be able to at least come at this with more information, because I believe information and transparency in this will help lead some people into a little more clarity of thought as we move into this. And that's why if we can break that down and show, okay, this is what the county gave in this year, this is what the county gave this year, this is what the state did, and then have a chart like says state gave this at this point, past the budget process, which skewed the original numbers. I understand they get offset, and I know my mind's running 110 miles an hour, and I didn't have caffeine today. So,
I've kept up with you so far.
Yeah, so I'm getting my signals. So you lost me at the beginning. It's okay. But this is where I'm at. I want to be able to show, and I want to be able to show the public, this is what the schools actually get. This is what we gave them. This is what the state gave them. This is where the offset. And if we want to do this, the wild fluctuations in what the state does and what we give directly affects our ability to put this into a coherent system that would remain consistent over a long period of time.
I think even if we did, I do understand, we talked.
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying, but I still think that if we went to a revenue sharing agreement model, it would hamper your flexibility in funding the needs of each entity.
Oh, I understand that. I just want to be able to, I understand, me and you had a long talk about this. I just want to be able to show and have it a matter of record so people can easily understand where it's coming from and what the reasoning behind it is, and that'll give us a good foundation moving forward.
We're also putting together some information that shows our budget process in a more concise manner. We have budget calendar that we present every year, but we're going to put a little bit more detail on that and some narrative. That's almost ready to go on our website, and it will be ready for the joint meeting with the schools later this month as well.
Small words, lots of pictures and colors. I'm infantry. This is what you get. I just want to be able to do this for the public because I do get a lot of questions on this, and I think they're valid questions because there's a lot of misconceptions because the budget does seem so large for schools, but a lot of it is not towards operational and instructional. It's actually towards capital and debt, and I think that separation needs to be distinct so people understand and we can move forward from there. Because right now we really don't have a baseline, and it's built on what it's in the past, and that's fine at that point, but people are more educated on certain things and they want more clarity on others, and I just want to be able to provide them that as we move forward.
And we do have a graphic that we can easily, that we show now, that we can easily show that shows that split between the items that you're talking about. We'll get some more information for you.
Yeah, I just want to simplify it down a little bit, that's all. But thank you very much. I appreciate the work you put in and the staff put in on this.
Thank you.
Supervisor Bone, do you have any questions?
I do have 2 questions and 1 comment. I'll start with my comment. I was kind of set back about the math, meaning in the non-sweet spot section, at least one of the 3, if not all 3, that if we had to raise revenue equivalent to 1 cent now, we'd have to actually potentially raise taxes by 2 cents. That's what you said, Angie. Is that correct?
I said if we went to a revenue sharing agreement with a 50-50 split and the county needed 1 cent, we would have to raise it 2 to maintain the 50-50 split.
Yeah, it makes sense. Okay, so you also mentioned something in your presentation about the financing of Christiansburg High School. I interpreted it as the bonds that we helped purchase for, the revenue from the bonds that were issued. Are you saying that because we had the flexibility, we were able to help save some money during that process?
With the flexibility, we were able to help the schools issue the debt. We issued the debt, of course, but we were able to issue the debt sooner than we would have been able to if we had not had those funds to shave the peaks of the debt service in the early years.
And any chance that helped us keep the bond interest rate lower? Because we were hitting the bottom of the rates at that point in time. Is that correct? Or am I just thinking about that and it's not relevant?
They stayed low for a period of time after that, so I'm not sure that it helped with that, but it did help the schools issue the debt, or us issue the debt earlier so the schools could get started. There were other delays for other reasons, but it wasn't because the funding wasn't there.
Okay. And that's fine. I liked the graphic, the 4-quadrant graphic. Could you or anybody on the fly right now say in the last 10 years how many non-sweet spot years we actually had?
No, not right now. I mean, we could.
Yeah.
We would have to assume that we have had a revenue sharing agreement. We could look at that over the past few years, but I don't have that information this evening.
Yeah, what I'm thinking is just to get a sense of how often we are not in a sweet spot. I mean, the graphic kind of shows and it's probably, I'm reading into the graphic way more than I should, but
Well,
75% of the time, we're not in the sweet spot. I know that's not true, but, if we're not in the sweet spot a lot, I think we're giving a lot of flexibility away. That's my last statement, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Supervisor King, do you have any questions?
Well, most things I got out of this, revenue sharing's a bad deal.
I think the flexibility that's lost causes it to be difficult. I do think that it would be difficult for the county to have flexibility and fund things the way that we do now if we had a revenue sharing agreement.
Well, some of that money that we use as a county to do our projects with.
Right.
The school board puts what they want projects in their budget, is correct?
Right.
So if we give away the county money, what's the county going to do?
I don't know. It would be difficult. I think it would be difficult from the county's perspective for for that reason. Also, in a year which, thankfully, typically we do not fall short of our revenue. But if we did, the county would be on the hook, so to speak, for the shortfall.
Yeah. Well, I just think that's a bad deal. Bad deal.
Supervisor Biggs?
I personally don't support the idea because having been on the board for such a long time, I really believe in flexibility, and I think it's really important. And along with that, I believe, and you all know this, in having a very strong working relationship between county administration and school administration during budget time, well, before budget time, during budget time, and having as much education back and forth. And I know that it's hard because we collect, taxes twice a year, and we don't know what the state's going to do sometimes. But having seen things over time, like the roof falling in a high school, sometimes you have to really have that flexibility to be able to meet not just the needs of county, but the needs of schools. So I'm just at this point not convinced. The other thing I'm extremely worried about is the fact that we don't know what's going on nationally or even statewide with all the fluctuations in the economy, and are we, what kind of funding are we going to get in the future from the state? Are we going to have to step up to meet even more needs than we already are on the county and the school side? So at this point in time, I'm just thinking that's probably not the best idea. And that would be what I would say now.
Supervisor Grafsky?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with many of the comments here, particularly as it relates to our ability to be or to react or respond to situations when it relates to funding needs and things like that. I did have a question, so while we haven't experienced this, at least not in recent memory, should there be a year where we're forecasting a decline in year-over-year revenue, right? And if we were in a revenue sharing agreement, so knowing that, in a future year, the school potentially is going to have take a haircut on their budget, in a revenue sharing model, do we have any flexibility to appropriate additional funds as needed? Or even though, with a smaller budget, you're not going to have a lot of flexibility to do that, but could we, if that was a board priority?
It could be written into the agreement. I have not seen one that has a provision for that written into it. I think typically what happens is if
we're taking a haircut, everybody's getting a haircut.
Everybody's getting a haircut, or then there is discussion and debate about the formula and the tax rate, both at the same time.
Right. Okay. Yeah, because I see the benefit potentially from the school board's side of having some predictability in what they've got to work with. But again, at a reduced flexibility for us then to prioritize other needs within the county. But yeah, if things ever flatten out, or gosh, I hope they don't decline, that puts everybody in a bad spot. You're kind of handcuffed to this agreement. So.
And also a consideration is if we had a revenue sharing agreement that had a certain split for the county and the schools, and then for some reason Supervisor Biggs alluded to this, the schools received less money from the state, which this has happened some years. They've gotten significantly less money from the state, and the county has funded them in a higher proportion. That would be difficult to do with revenue sharing agreement.
Right.
Yeah, that's happened with salaries before.
Right.
And I think some of the schools and counties that have these kind of agreements, if you look at some of them, they've had to revise them because of difficulties that have happened.
Right.
Or what I read, anyway.
Last question or comment. Did we estimate, let's just say for this year's budget, what percentage that would need to be
In the current year?
in the current year to fund their operations?
I can tell you what the current year split is. Is that what you're asking me for fiscal year 26?
Let's say if we were to say this is what's the current percentage?
It's interesting because the past 2 years are the swing years. So in fiscal year 25, the schools received 29% of the undesignated general fund dollars for the school operating fund, and then fiscal year 26 they received 46%. That the 46%, I would have to check and see if that has the 1 cent tax increase in it or not. But if you recall, the schools did get a significant increase in funding after we thought we knew how much they were going to get. So that's one of the factors that plays into this, because of the timing that Supervisor Kit spoke about as well. That's difficult for people to understand the timing of the budget process when we get the information from the state, when we have to set the tax rate. All of that makes it difficult.
Thank you.
Vice Chair Fizikowski.
Yeah, I don't see how anybody can be in favor of it after listening to the presentation, but and I'm not and haven't been. It's been brought up in years past, and the one word that everybody seems to be using is the flexibility that it takes away. There's just too many variables out there when it comes to the state and other funding that it's just not worth taking that chance if we can't control where the money is going to be going. Years ago, I had conversations with a bordering county that tried this, and it was a failure. And I think if this worked really well, you'd see more counties doing it, but 80% don't do it.
Right.
Yeah, so that should tell you something in itself. So we don't need to have that that, I don't want to use the word authority, but that's what it is, taken away, so that we can kind of balance between the county and the school, so that everybody's needs are met as best as they can be. And I think also, whenever you talk about revenue sharing, it gives people a false sense of security that all their problems will be taken care of if they know how much money they're going to get. They're not going to know how much money they're going to get. There's no guarantee. So it's a false sense. So I don't think it's worth trying myself.
Well, I'll weigh in too. Maintaining flexibility in decision-making is critically important. It allows us to recognize critical gaps in our strategic alignment. But it does allow us to recognize and address critical gaps efficiently. And I understand a revenue sharing agreement would take something out of the budget process, something probably that none of us really enjoy, which is the kind of the back and forth, the arguing, the disagreeing. I think it could potentially take some of that out of the budget process, but then introduce a constant renegotiation of the revenue share agreement at the same time that we're also trying to determine the tax rate, which in my opinion and based on my experience would be even worse. That's about the nicest way I can put that. And so I have some concerns, especially after Steve or Vice Chair Fijikowski making the point, 80% of counties are not doing this. That's huge to consider. And we do have an opportunity coming up to in November to speak to a lot of people from other counties. So I would encourage those of us that are going to the annual VACO meeting to talk to our colleagues about what their county is doing. Supervisor Kitts, you were indicating that you had something else to say.
So I'll follow up with this. And part of this is I wanted to be able to come at this from a different angle than anybody else, because I wanted to be brought up. I wanted to be able to get the staff to look at it, and I wanted to be able to see where we are actually at, because we need to be able to share that information. And that's what I wanted, to be able to show that. If you don't bring it up, we can't discuss it. If you don't discuss it, you can't get the information, you can't research it, and we do not have an ability to move forward. I completely understand the flexibility point, and I've done my research into it too, and we joked about that earlier, as I fed this into an AI to figure out where we were at. But I wanted to be able to see how staff would come at it, how county administrator would come at it, based on experience, information, and to be able to chart that out. And if we can share that with the school board, I think it gives us a better footing baseline-wise to be able to move forward and talk about actual numbers and not the mythical percentages that we all seem to think about, and it's all of us. And that's why I wanted the separation of debt services and capital projects from the operation portion, so we can actually talk about real numbers next time. So I appreciate the effort.
So I think the follow-up needed after this is preparation for our joint meeting,
Yes.
which would be the numbers that Supervisor Kitts is requesting. Did anybody else have any other follow-up requests on this topic for staff?
Would you like this presentation at that meeting as well? Or do you just want us to go to the next step that Supervisor Kitts has brought up?
Can we react to that as we kind of evolve the
Yes.
conversation amongst the board?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not sure right now because I don't think we've talked about an agenda for that joint meeting
Right.
yet. So, Supervisor King.
If you gonna go back and look at all this, could you look just operational for the schools and the funding and the county's operation and the funding?
Yes.
And just off of local tax dollar,
Yes.
could you give me a percentage of what the county gets and the school gets? Just local dollars.
I do know that right now.
But if you want to give it
You
now,
want historically or do you want right now?
No, she.
I
when's
have
the
it.
Rest of okay.
So in total, if you look at how much everyone gets in total, not the increase year over year, in total, the county operations, just the operations, not debt or capital, 47% of the funding comes from undesignated general fund dollars, and 53% goes to the schools. That percentage is fairly consistent over the 5-year period. It varies a little bit, but it's fairly consistent. It started 5 years ago. The counties was 42% and the schools were 58%. That's of the total dollars, not the new money. We were talking earlier about the new money. And it's changed in a linear manner. It's increased a little bit for the county, and that's because of the public safety needs that we've identified. The reason that those percentages in total haven't changed very much is because we've had flexibility. When the state gave more money for the schools, the county provided a little bit less to the schools in those years. So that flexibility has allowed that to be steady.
Now, that's just local tax dollars.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
You're
was
welcome.
prepared for that, wasn't you?
Yep.
Okay, so I think everybody has had all of their questions asked and answered about revenue sharing. Supervisor Bone, are you good to move on to the next topic as well? Supervisor Bone, are you ready to move on to the next topic?
Yeah, my apologies. I was in the middle of sending a message to Angie about a potential bar graph or a line graph that might be helpful. Yes, I don't have any additional questions. Great comments to my colleagues. Thank you.
Great, thanks. All right, our next topic for work session is tax relief for the elderly and disabled program. And this is revisiting this topic from our previous work session where the board direction was to look at some various ways of calculating the increase. So Angie, take it away. And it's gone.
I pushed the wrong button twice. There we go. You did ask staff to provide some additional scenarios based on different index methodology, and we provided this to you in an email, but I wanted you to see it and let the public see it as well. The top shaded area is what we have proposed, and that's what we currently use, which is Social Security cost of living increases. If we look at CPI-U, which is a universal rate, or CPI-U Bureau of Labor Statistics, which the chained version of that, which is it's based on people's total ability to pay when they have to shift what they're using their money for. There's a description of that on the slide. And also the federal poverty guideline for a family of four. Our proposal is in line with those. It's a little bit higher, so it would allow a few more people to participate in the program, but it is pretty much in line with the proposal that we made for you. If you have any questions about that, I can answer them, and then I have a slide that shows what the next steps will be.
Let's look at that.
So if the board has consensus regarding the proposed income and net financial worth limits, then we have been keeping the towns abreast of where we are in the process. There is a resolution on this agenda later in the meeting to authorize advertisement of this and then schedule and hold a public hearing on October 14th and vote on the ordinance on that date.
Okay. Great, thank you. Let's put the previous slide back on the screen just for the sake of this discussion. And I'll open by saying I am comfortable continuing to use Social Security COLA as our metric, and I'd love to hear from my colleagues. We'll start with Supervisor Grafsky. You were looking at me.
Lucky me. All right. I'm in alignment with your comments there. I appreciate the staff looking into these. I mean, it's good to see that there's really not a whole lot of variability across these, but that at least the measure that we're currently using and hopefully will continue to use gives our residents the greatest impact or access to this benefit. So with that said, yeah, I'll be supporting your next slide, which laid out the next steps.
Okay. Supervisor King?
The Social Security COLA looks about the best route to go.
Okay. Supervisor Bone?
I agree.
Okay. Supervisor Biggs?
Yeah, I agree, and I like it spelled out like this so that we can present it like this and people understand it.
And we can continue to look at this as the years move forward
Yeah.
and make sure that we stay in line.
Flexibility.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Supervisor Kitts?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Vice Chair Fijikowski?
It's COLA for me.
Great. So I think that gives staff what you need to move
Yes.
forward, and we will be able to act on our new business item this evening.
Thank
And
you.
so our final item on work session this evening is legislative priorities for 2026. We have the draft legislative priorities in board docs available for us, and we had a previous work session on this topic where you'll see items added in red to the legislative priorities related to school vouchers, siting of data centers, local tax authority about nicotine vapor products, and a support statement for the to and through Bristol Passenger Rail Coalition. And I'll kick things off saying I support all of the additions to the legislative priorities except for the school vouchers. Supervisor King, would you like to go first and speak to the legislative priorities?
I support all of them, even the vouchers and tax credit for parents.
Supervisor Biggs?
I support all of them except the school vouchers and the tuition tax credits. As I've stated before, the state is still not paying their share, and that money would come directly out of what the state still hasn't paid their share for. And as we found out from the JLARC study, that the state has only gotten 10% of that paid. So they still aren't an equal partner in education. If we were to pass this, that's where the money would come out of, and it would hurt public schools. So you guys know how I feel about that. I cannot support that.
Okay, Supervisor Kitts?
Yeah, I support everything but the support school vouchers with it and tax credit for tuition. I think I've stated my points pretty clearly earlier, so I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Supervisor Bone, do you have anything to add related to the legislative priorities?
I support the legislative priorities except for the school vouchers and tax credit.
Okay. Supervisor Grafsky?
Yeah, I'm in alignment with the majority of folks here. I support those priorities, sans the tax credit
Okay.
or voucher.
Vice Chair Fizikowski?
I thought I had converted all of you. Passionate speech, but I guess not. I support all of them, including the vouchers.
Okay. So we do have our legislative priorities as an action item on our agenda under new business, so we will get to that in just a little while. Is there anything else that anybody needs to discuss in work session? Supervisor King?
One thing, on the animal control we got on for the legislation, I know they have videos or something, don't they have body cameras? Would it help if we sent some of that to Richmond? So they can see vicious dogs that some of these people actually go after?
In support of the advocating for them to have enhanced retirement business
Right.
for hazardous duty.
Right, for hazardous duty.
We could send some of that, I think. Could we? It's public information. We
At
could
least
send
send
it
it
to
to
them.
some of the legislators
Yes.
and the governor and lieutenant governor and all these people. I mean, that might help us out.
Good point. Okay, does anybody
Get
else?
some good stuff.
Right, I know.
Really mean ones.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. I am not seeing or hearing any other information, so I am hoping to entertain a motion to come out of work session.
Motion.
Second?
Okay. Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll, please.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Grafsky?
Aye.
Ms. Bone?
Aye.
Mr. Kitts?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Fizikowski?
Aye.
Chair DeMotts?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Okay, it is 8:49 p.m. I'm going to call a quick break. We'll do 11 minutes to be generous. 9 o'clock p.m. we will reconvene.
Did you give her the
Go ahead and get things started. Supervisor Bone, have you returned from break? Are you with us? Supervisor Bone, are you with us?
I sure am. I
Okay.
apologize. I'm, flipping between screens in order to mute and unmute myself.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Thank you. So our next item on our agenda is consent agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there, okay. Is there any discussion on the consent agenda? Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll, please.
Mr. Grafsky?
Aye.
Ms. Bone?
Aye.
Mr. Kitts?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Mr. Fidzikowski?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Chair DeMotts?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Okay, now we are in the new business section of our agenda. The first item of new business is to schedule a public hearing on the proposed ordinance amendment tax relief for the elderly and disabled, as we discussed in work session. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Okay, Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll, please.
Ms. Bone?
Aye.
Mr. Kitts?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Mr. Fidzikowski?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Grafsky?
Aye.
Chair DeMotts?
Aye.
7 ayes.
The next item is our legislative priorities for 2026. We do have a draft resolution here, but after our discussion in work session, it seems that the majority supports the legislative priorities in full, with the exception of the item to support school vouchers or tuition tax credit. I will entertain any motions related to the legislative priorities.
I'll make a motion to put that on the table minus the support for school vouchers and our tuition tax credit.
Okay.
Second that motion.
Okay. Is there any discussion?
I do support everything on there, but I would like to see the tax vouchers and the tax credit on there.
Any other discussion? Okay. Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll, please. And this is on the legislative priorities in the draft form, removing the support school vouchers or tuition tax credit. Okay.
Mr. Kitts?
Aye.
Mr. King?
The only reason I'm going to vote this way is because I do support tax vouchers or tax credit. No.
Mr. Fidzikowski?
No.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Grafsky?
Aye.
Ms. Bone?
Aye.
Chair DeMotts?
Aye.
5 ayes, 2 no.
Okay. And then finally, our last item of new business is an appropriation for the county utility department. Angie, would you like to say anything about that before we take a motion?
Yes, I'll be glad to. This appropriation appropriates the funding that's left in the PSA operations, the portion of the funds that would transfer to the county with the new structure of having the staff report to the county and become county employees effective October 1st. There are some things, obviously, that would stay with the authority, such as their debt service payments, purchase of water, sewage treatment, and those kinds of things. So this is 9 months of the costs that need to transfer to the county. There's a resolution that has the expenditures, and it's offset with the recovered costs that will be funded by the Public Service Authority.
Okay. And so is there a motion on this appropriation?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Is there any discussion?
This is recovery money, right? So it's going in PSA's account
It's coming from the PSA to the county.
to the county?
Right. We will be paying the staff's salary, so the PSA will have to pay the county back for the staff's salary.
$1.8 million?
Salary, benefits, operations.
For 9 months. Okay. Are there any other questions or items of discussion? Okay. Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll, please.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Mr. Fidzikowski?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Grafsky?
Aye.
Ms. Bone?
Aye.
Mr. Kitts?
Aye.
Chair DeMotts?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Okay, and now we are moving into the reports section of the meeting. Our county attorney has been very quiet today. Do you have anything to report?
I'll remain quiet and have no report. Thank you.
Sometimes it's good for the attorney to be quiet.
I agree.
All right, our county administrator, Angie, do you have anything?
I only have two small things. One of them we spoke of earlier. There will be a joint meeting with the school board on September 29th.
Yes.
Okay, good. The last Monday of this month. And then also there will be the last open house for Montgomery Matters, our comprehensive plan update for this stage of the process will be held tomorrow night here at the Government Center. Unfortunately, the Plum Creek Village meeting could not be held in Plum Creek last week due to the weather. We were also unfortunately not able to locate an inside location to host that, so it will be in the downstairs lobby of this building tomorrow from 5 until 7:30.
Great, thank you. And now we'll move on to Board of Supervisors reports. Supervisor Bone, do you have a report this evening?
No report.
Okay. Supervisor Biggs.
I don't have a report, but I have a question regarding Miss Miller's comment. This is the second time she's been here, and I thought that, and she did say she was going to talk to David, but I thought that that was being taken care of. Is there anything we need to do except encourage VDOT to resolve that, or?
I don't think there's anything further the board needs to do. I spoke with David before the meeting, and he had spoken with Ms. Miller, and they have a plan for some changes to the draining ditches and to increase how wide those ditches are near her driveway, so, and the cattle guard.
Okay, good, because I know that was the second time she's
Yes.
been here. All right, thank you.
Supervisor King.
Don't have no report, but on Miss Miller's, we've been working on that for a little while, and what the water's doing is coming down from one side of the road, coming over to theirs. So, Mr. Clark told me this evening that they had been discussing it, and I think they'll get it worked out.
Supervisor Grafsky.
I don't have a report. I will say, apologize for missing last week's called PSA meeting. But thank you for my recent elevation to vice chair of that board.
You're welcome.
Yes, it's all the trust that this group has in me, and so I appreciate that. Thank you.
That's what happens when you don't show up.
Yeah, it was not on the schedule when I scheduled that trip. In my defense.
Supervisor Kitts.
I think it's wonderful that he's embraced the responsibility. So I have no report, but I just want to say thank you all for bringing that information forward. I know there was a lot I put on staff for that information, but I'm very appreciative, and I know the public will appreciate it too. So thank you very much.
Vice Chair Fidzikowski.
No report.
Well, I have just a very small report, 2 items. First, I do want to remind everybody that Parks and Rec will be having their major 50th anniversary celebration at Teal Park on Saturday, September 27th. There will be a ton of our participants in our youth rec sports at that event. I'm not actually sure of what the hours are for the event. Do you have that?
I don't think we have the hours set
Okay,
yet.
so it'll be set on the county calendar, but I am reminding everybody of that today to please put it on your calendars because I will be out of town that weekend. So I'm going to need all of you to show up to be just as enthusiastic. And I know, but I want everybody to show up and be enthusiastic in supporting Parks and Rec, and then also seeing the changes in Teal Park since the soft opening of that facility. It's pretty remarkable. So please, everybody, go there. You're signaling time to me. Yes? Do you have the time?
I do have the time. It is 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. 10 a.m. we'll gather, have some formal and then there will be baseball, t-ball, and softball games through the day.
Fantastic.
But
So
10 a.m.
10
is the
a.m.
initial.
And everybody bring your loud cheers and your big yelling voices. Maybe somebody makes some signs to celebrate Parks and Rec.
And we will also dedicate the park.
Correct.
I am so sad that I'm going to miss all of this.
I know.
And in a similar vein, the other item on my report is I will not be present at our meeting on September 22nd. So I will be leaving chairing the meeting to the very capable hands of Vice Chair Fijikowski. He is very excited about doing that evening. So I will miss all of you. In planning my own personal vacation, I had to kind of balance. I always take it at the end of September, and I didn't want to miss the joint meeting. I didn't want to miss our meeting here, but I had to miss one. So I felt like attending the joint meeting with 14 elected officials was going to be kind of a big deal. So I don't have anything else to add in my report except to extend my apologies for not being here next time with all of you.
Well, you need to have a vacation. You've been working hard.
I feel like I have been. Thank you. All right. Well, thanks so much, everybody. This meeting is adjourned.